If you watched yesterday's video, you knew this one was coming. Today, I'm talking about the books that I thought just stunk it up from last week's New Comic Book Day, right after this. What's up, comic book fans? My name is Bruce Moreau.
And I am Stephanie.
What's up, comic book fans? My name is Bruce Moreau, and welcome to the channel, and welcome to my first ever worst of video. That's right, in this video series, I'll be talking about the books that I absolutely did not like, maybe even hated from last week's New Comic Book Day. Last week was September 21st if you're a DC fan, or September 22nd if you are a Marvel fan. And I actually have 3 Marvel books that I think absolutely were just god-awful, should not have been printed, and they had, 2 of them had Chip Zdarsky as one of the writers on the books. Like, what? Chip, what is going on? But before we get into these books, I do have a few things I do want to say. Guys, I try to be very positive on this channel, and I don't want to rip these books too bad, but I'm also just going to be very brutally honest. I think these books are they're not very good, and I'm just going to kind of explain to you guys why I did not like them. And please, let me know down in the comments below, am I being too harsh? Did you guys enjoy these books? Am I just being, I don't know, too critical of these books? Let me know down in the comments below. And guys, if you guys are not subscribed to the channel, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification, so that way you're notified when I upload new content just like this video, or when Stephanie and I go live. And we go live every single Friday on Comics and Beer. It's an absolute blast. It's a 1-hour show where we drink some beers, we talk about comic book news, and we normally do we do trivia every single week, and those get entries into our end of the month giveaway, and we also just give stuff away all the time. So make sure you're tuning in for Comics and Beer every single Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern. And don't forget to smash the like button if you guys enjoy the content of this video. All right, guys, with all that said, let's talk about the first book that I just think stunk it up from last week. All right, guys, the first book that I'm going to talk about today is Empire Avengers #1. This is written by Jim Zub and art by Carlos Magno. I haven't heard of either of these people before. That should have been a little bit of a hint. Also, this is Empire tie-in. I usually try to stay away from these, but you know what? I wanted to give this crossover a shot. I wanted to see if any of these books were going to be any good, so I picked this one up. I picked up all the books from last week, and this was awful. Right from the get-go, when you open the first page, the art is, I don't know, I'm sorry, Carlos, I'm going to say this, your art is terrible in this book. There were some panels that looked really good, and then there was a lot of detail, especially with the plant people, the Kotai. I thought you did a really good job drawing them, but the rest was just so bad. Your humans looked terrible. Dr. Voodoo looked awful. Wanda Maximoff looked awful. Iron Man looked so disproportionate. His suit was really big and kind of fat, and his head was small. Captain America's body was way bigger than it should have been. I don't know, it was very inconsistent. You used a lot of sketch lines to make that I thought would add a lot of detail, because there's some other people that do that and do it really well, but this just made it look like you were trying hard to add a lot of detail, but it didn't come through. Yeah, the way you draw humans, I did not enjoy at all. They just look so bad from beginning to end. Also, the line weights, usually, people try to use thicker lines and thinner lines to help give depth to the scenes, and it's just you use one consistent line weight throughout your page, and it just, I don't know. I did not like your art, and I apologize. I don't want to come off like a jerk, I guess, but man, I did not like it at all. And yeah, so this book started off on the wrong foot, because you open that first page and I was like, whoa, this is what I'm getting into. But I was like, all right, let's jump in. Maybe the story is so good by Jim, I'll just, love it. Sorry, Jim. Your story is very convoluted, paced very poorly. You gave very little time to the setup of each of the whole book as a whole, and then you gave in-proportionate amounts of the book to the 3 main stories. So there was a setup where the Avengers are meeting, and then they're sending out teams to help the Kree and the Skrulls fight the Kotai all over the world. And then the 3 teams were Dr. Nemesis, Luke Cage, and Vision. Why is Dr. Nemesis an Avenger? I don't know. And then the next team was Quicksilver, Mockingbird, and Wonder Man. I know they've all been Avengers. Maybe Mockingbird's been Avenger. I don't know. But again, a very weird Avengers team. And then the very last team was Black Knight, Wanda Maximoff, and Dr. Voodoo. Again, a very weird team. And their stories were just like the Luke Cage story was very short and very weird. Ended very poorly because it was only 2 pages. We didn't get any kind of resolution or a hint that we'd be continuing on to another book. I guess that there's going to be an issue number 2. Same thing with the Wanda or the Quicksilver story. Very weird. And again, the art was just so bad in that. And then the ending with Wanda Maximoff, Dr. Voodoo, and Black Knight, which is so weird. And the one-liners in that were so bad, especially that one section. Let's just read you one real quick. So the one Kotai says to Kazar, "You are nothing. Our seeds are strong." And then they say, "Vegetation will triumph." And then the Black Knight responds, "Yeah, great. Bring it on, broccoli pal." What? That was the kind of entertainment that we had in this book. The dialogue was just awful. It was so bad. I cannot suggest you guys pick this book up at all. It was just really bad. The writing, the artwork, the pacing, the story, the dialogue, it just did not make sense. Definitely don't pick up this book up. And let's jump into the next one, shall we? Maybe the next one's a little better. We'll see. All right, guys, next up, we have a book by Chip Zdarsky, which is the main reason why I picked up this book, because I love Chip Zdarsky. His work on Daredevil is absolutely fantastic. And this book is Lords of Empire, Emperor Hulkling. And I was really excited for this book because, again, Chip Zdarsky's on this book. But I found out once I got to page number 3, I believe, 3 or 4, we find out that he did not write this book alone. Nope. This book was written by Chip Zdarsky and Anthony Oliveira. All right. That usually puts a little concern into me when there's 2 writers on a book, because that means one person usually did the outline of the story and then another person wrote all the dialogue and the connective tissue for the outline of the story. And that's what I think happened in this book, but we'll get to that a little bit later. And then there was pencils by Manuel Garcia. The pencils in this book were actually pretty decent. The same with the colors. Overall, it's fine. It's not my favorite kind of art at all, but he was very consistent with how he drew his characters. The detail in the book was done pretty well. The colors were kind of muted and boring, but overall, the art didn't distract from the story. So I can't say that the art in this book was bad. It wasn't great. It was no Jorge Jimenez by any means, but you know what? It wasn't terrible. It didn't distract from the story, and that's really all I want to say about the art, because it really wasn't that bad. But the story itself was just, I don't know, this seemed like a very, very forced story. I don't really think we needed this story at all. It was a story that was supposed to be how Hulkling became the Emperor and give us that whole backstory and that whole history of how he was taken from Earth and brought up to the Kree Skrull and how he became the Emperor and how he united the people. And it was just, I don't know, so there were so many silly stories, moments in the story. And the overall just dialogue in this book was not very good. This is how good some of the dialogue is in this book. You ready for this, guys? You ready for this? "Hands off my spaceman," says Wiccan. "Hey, Princess Muscles, I'm here to rescue you." And then Hulkling says, "My hero." And then they go on to say, "Resistance is futile. Today is a good day to die. There are 4 lights. Wow, we should do space stuff more often. We are very good at this." That was just a little snippet of some of the amazing dialogue that was in this book. If you guys disagree with me, if you guys picked this up and you really enjoyed it, let me know down in the comments below, because this book was really hard for me to read. It was a thick book. $4.99. I paid $4.99 for this, and this is the kind of cover they put on it. I should have known just from picking this cover up that this was just going to be a cheap book, and that's exactly what it is, but I paid $4.99. Man, it was bad. Yeah, the dialogue was just awful in this book. But let's jump into the last stinker of the week, shall we? All right, guys, the last book of the week that was an absolute stinker and a waste of my money was X-Men and the Fantastic Four, issue number 4. This is written by Chip Zdarsky, only by Chip Zdarsky, so why this book sucks so bad, I don't know. And art by the Dotsons. It's Terry and Rachel, I believe. A lot of people love the Dotson. It is Terry and Rachel. I thought the art in this book was freaking terrible. Some of the most inconsistent art I've seen in a very long time. You'll go from one page to the next. One panel looks great. Some nice detail. The characters look proportionally correct. And then the next page, it just looks like sketch lines. They never even finished the art in the page, but they still colored and put it out. It just looks inconsistent and terrible. I did not like this art at all. It definitely distracted from the story for me because I just kept on looking. I'm like, why does that look so bad? Why does this panel look so good and beautifully done, and this panel look like it was just a sketch? I don't know. I really disliked it because this cover is beautiful, drawn by Terry Dotson and colors by his wife, Rachel Dotson. Why doesn't the interiors look like this, front to back? Why does every single panel look inconsistent and just, oh, it was so bad. I don't want to harp on it, but the art in this book, in my opinion, was terrible. Then the story. Again, Chip, what is going on? I love your work in Daredevil. It makes sense. You're writing the characters so well and all the characters around him. The Kingpin, Detective Cole North. Everyone in that book feels like the characters that we have been reading for years. Granted, I have not read a lot of Doom. I have not read a lot of Fantastic Four. I have read a lot of X-Men. But the way you have these characters interact with each other from the beginning to now does not make sense. Why the X-Men would just show up at the Fantastic Four's apartment and demand to have their son go to Krakoa. And then there's a huge battle in New York City and they're still fighting in this book. It just doesn't make any sense. And I don't know. The way the characters are just written in this book it really aggravated me. It really made no sense. They were poorly written. The Doom lines were so bad. Why Dr. Doom is so one note. He pretends to do good, but he's really doing bad. Every single book since Superior Iron Man, the Iron Man story where he took over for Tony when Tony disappeared. That was the one story where it gave Dr. Doom some depth and it made him interesting. He was actually trying to do good. He was still kind of doing some bad, but his overall goal was to be good. And that was interesting. This shit with Doom is just so one note, so boring. And overall, this story just did not make sense. It didn't need to be told. Yes, it could have been told in a really cool way. And it just wasn't. It just wasn't. And I was listening to Thinking Critical. He reviewed this book, and he has a lot more. He has some more interesting things to say about the book. He goes a little bit more in depth. He liked the book a lot more than I do, so I'm having a hard time of finding the positive things that he said about this book. But it just doesn't connect to the continuity of what's going on with the X-Men. Like, Kitty Pryde is dead. How is she alive in this? Does this happen like way before or way after? I don't know. This book is so bad. It's so bad. But I got all 4 issues, so that was fun. That was a waste of, what, $16? But yeah, art bad, story bad, book bad. Just like Frankenstein says in Hotel Transylvania. Fire, bad, book bad. Yeah, so those are my reviews for the week, or the worst books of the week from last week, which was July 21st or July 22nd. These all books came from July 22nd. Guys, I hope that this week coming up, which is actually today's new comic day for DC, which is July 28th, and tomorrow's July 29th. I pick all my books up tomorrow, so hopefully tomorrow I'm only picking up amazing books and I have no worst of, but if I do, I'll make sure I let you guys know. Those books stunk. Let's wrap this video up, and on a positive note, guys, thank you guys so much for checking this video out. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did enjoy it, make sure you smash that like button. Guys, yeah, and leave a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, I'll check you in the next one. Peace.